To talk markets right now. Liz Young is here, SoFi's head of investment strategy. We've been batting around what we heard from Jay Powell on Sunday night, trying to make some sense of it, reading the transcripts versus what we heard on the actual program, trying to figure out what it means for equities. What do you think it actually means?
Well, first of all, I don't think a lot changed. I think that there were a lot of investors that maybe hadn't been listening to him since the beginning of the hiking cycle, that we're going to do this hard. We're going to err on the side of staying too long, staying higher than maybe people think we should, in order to really solve the problem. And I still think that their threshold for pain is higher than the markets, and that's why we've seen a couple days of a sell-off. But the reality is, even 1 or 2 days here or there don't seem to really last. There's clearly still appetite to buy.
And when you think, though, about what the interest rate picture looks like in calendar 2024, what's the SoFi view of the world?
Well, I honestly never believed that they would go in March, or at least didn't believe that they should, because we didn't have any real evidence that they should. And they like to predict it. They like to foreshadow it for the market very clearly. We're thinking about doing it. Okay, now we're really thinking about doing it, and then we're going to do it. They didn't have enough time to really say that yet. So I think pushing it back from March is a good thing. However, now we're pushing it back to the point where if we still think we're going to get 5 or 6, you might see some 50s in there. And they've proven that they don't have to do it in a very smooth, stepwise function, right? On the way up, they felt like they were a little late. They did 475.
Oh, so you think we could see a 50 basis point drop?
The longer they wait, I think the more that's likely.
And is that a second half of the year? I mean, then we keep talking about you walking into an election cycle.
Yeah, well, and there's been
and
a
I know
lot
everybody
of
says that they don't like to think about the politics, but there is like a little birdie in people's back of their head thinking, okay, I don't want people to think.
I think it's in people's head more than it's in Jerome Powell's head, honestly. I mean, he's not up for renomination until 2026. Who knows if he even wants that seat again?
Right.
And I think that what he would be thinking about is more, am I worried about my own integrity and reputation, or am I worried about the integrity of the Federal Reserve? I would assume that he's more concerned with the integrity and the credibility of the Federal Reserve and restoring that. I don't think that there's a lot of politics that's going to come into it.
Against that backdrop, if you're an investor out there playing the equity markets, you do what? Well,
so right now we've returned to this theme of big stuff leading. The Magnificent Seven has now become the Magnificent 3 or 4, right? And we've got a new stock that entered the chat. That is still late cycle behavior.
When did that phrase come into play, by the way? It's like in the past 2 months.
Entered the chat?
Something's entered the chat. I hear people say, it's entered the chat, or could you double click on that? Have you heard that yet now?
No.
Double click on that?
No.
Okay.
I missed that one.
No, people say that now.
But it's late cycle behavior, right? And I think this time in the cycle is when people get a lot of FOMO, and that's okay. There is stuff to buy out there, but I would be careful about everything that's seen such a feverish rise. And you also have to remember, even if the business cycle is longer and looks different than we're used to, it doesn't mean that it doesn't still happen. And usually the hikes are not what get you, it's the cuts that get you. Now, pushing them out saves us a little bit.
If we are in the, I don't know what you're saying, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, what are you suggesting we're in?
I don't know.
Okay, but then where do we end 2024? We're in extra innings.
We could be, yeah.
Where do you think 2024 ends?
I mean, we spent all of 2023 looking around the corner for a recession that didn't happen. So far in 2024, we're declaring it's never coming, right? I think both will end up being incorrect. So in 2024, maybe we get more of a slowdown than people expected, or at the very least, more of a slowdown than the market has the palate for.